everybody, it's the Fat Philosopher here, and today I'm doing a review of one of my guitars. This is the ESP LTD Viper 400. A little bit of an older model, as the 400 series are all now baritone. But I got this back in May here, so I've had it for about a few months now. So I thought I'd let you know what I thought of it. Now, as you can tell, this is not really a stock Viper. This has been modified. It's been giving a metallic gold paint job. The neck pickup has been replaced. We've got one EMG 81, and all the hardware has been replaced with the Wilkinson gold hardware to give it this kind of aesthetic look to it here. And you see, it's quite a striking guitar. You don't see these every day. Usually, especially these lefties, they're all kind of black. Sometimes they have like red sunburst on it. And but this is kind of a done kind of nicely by not a pro but an amateur hobbyist. Guy put this guitar back together as it is now. So first of all, of course, what strikes about this is your ESP's answer to the SG, the Gibson SG. A little bit, there are some differences. First of all, you can see it's a little bit kind of offset a little bit, so it's not quite symmetrical as an SG would be. Also, we got a much more of a bevel on the side. SG has a little bit of one, but it's not quite as pronounced. So you can see it gets really thin actually right on the side there too. So it's a nice kind of bevel set to it. So it looks a little bit more badass, I think, than your regular SG does. Okay. Also, this is a 24 fret guitar with an ebony fretboard, extra jumbo frets that have been really nice rounded off. Every time I've bought an LTD, an ESP guitar, one thing I've always liked is the fretwork on it. You always get really nice rounded frets, and they put the time into where you want it in this guitar here. Here's a little shot of the headstock. See, it's been repainted with the LTD. And there's the back of it there. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind if you ever want to get like an SG type guitar like this Viper here. First of all, one thing of course is that these guitars have neck dive. As you can see, it's falling down to the side. So first of all, it's not really a big of a deal in here because it's got this bevel here. I can just put my arm like that and I can hold it up to where I want it there pretty easily. There's not really a big problem on that. And it's regular SG doesn't have quite the bevel on it that this one does. But this nice bevel here, you know, I could do for days on this. Another thing you got to keep in mind when you're buying these type of guitars is that the whole guitar is like set to the side. You know, like let's say you're going to do a G chord, where you think the 3rd fret is actually kind of like the 5th fret. It's like more, you have to stretch your arm out a little bit more, especially if you're doing like the cowboy chords here. It's kind of, your arm's kind of stretched out a little bit here, and that's kind of a weird thing that takes a little while to get used to. You know, I think the reason they do that in this whole neck dive thing is that on the other side, when you're playing at the high frets, you know, like you're soloing, your arm doesn't have to get as much pressed to your body as it would on a regular guitar. You could still kind of play in a normal position if you're into soloing. So this is kind of a guitar, if you're like soloing a lot on the high frets, you might actually prefer it. But if you're like playing mostly cowboy chords on the top frets here, you might not enjoy it as much. Okay. This guitar is made for, you know, rock metal with the EMG in the neck there. The guy took out the neck pickup because, like, who uses the neck pickup in metal anyways, right? You know. The neck, like I said, the fretboard, it's a nice dark ebony. It has these little flag inlays in it, which I kind of like. I always like how ESP guitars, they put the name of the guitar right on the 12th fret. So you ever want to know, oh yeah, I'm playing a Viper 400, you know, it's always right there, easy to know. The neck profile is fairly thin, it's a C, okay? It's not quite as thin as some of my guitars, not like it's thin as my Schecter or my Ibanez was, and not quite as flat. The Ibanez tend to be a little bit flatter, a little bit wider, I find, but ESP's a little bit more rounder, a little bit more together on the here. Another great thing about these guitars is that the upper neck fret axis is superb. Like, you can get right up to the 24th fret, no problem. You're not impeded in any ways. Okay. This is a set neck design, and I really like how this set neck goes in. It's like a slight, let me say it this way here. I like how the set neck goes. It's got like a slight, goes down a little bit here. It's not very, pronounced, overly done. It's got a slight lowering, and it feels really great, in the handshake in your hand. You don't feel like it's too big or too thick at all. I think this is done very, very well. As I say, I actually work where the workplace is predominantly female. I'm surrounded by lots and lots of fairly young females, and so I often bring in my guitars and I say, well, what do you think of them? And the reaction on this one's a little bit lukewarm. Nobody really said they liked it a whole lot, even though it's got the gold feeling to it. One girl said she said it looked like a slab of butter because it's all, kind of yellow. So I think it's kind of guitarists might kind of pick onto this gold part here. But I don't know how female populations didn't really quite swoon over it like some of my other guitars, all right? And it's kind of a little bit like the place for it there. You're getting bright gold. Maybe it's more of kind of a rock guitar. If you're into metal, I don't know how much metal players like gold top guitars like this. But I enjoyed playing it the last 5 months. I think it was a fairly good buy, It takes a while to get used to the the kind of offset to it. I don't mind the neck dive so much because like I said, you just do like that and you're right playing again. But when you play from one guitar and you go back to another guitar, you do kind of feel a little bit different, So if this is like your main guitar, you're playing it the whole time, maybe it's fine. But if you have other guitars, you mix it in, you might be a little bit, I don't know if I want to stretch my arm out this much. But as you heard there in the music there, it sounds good. The EMG does what it's supposed to do, right? And one thing I mentioned is just the price on this. I paid about $500 for this. Like I say, you can get, of course, maybe regular ones a little bit cheaper than that. And but this one's kind of been souped up a little bit. I might mention that the guy who souped it up is kind of a hobbyist, so it wasn't really pro. So which is kind of a good thing. And one thing is when a hobbyist does these type of extra paint jobs, he's basically looking to, as a hobby, he buys it, uses it, plays it for a while, then he wants to go to the next project. So he just kind of tries to sells it off quickly. And he probably could have asked a little bit more for this guitar than he did. But I'm glad that I got it for what I did. $500 I think was a good buy on this. The paint job is not perfect. There's a little bit of paint running up on the fretboard side, like the side dots on the treble side there. You got a little bit, kind of hard to see, but a little bit on there. But otherwise, it's a good guitar. So that's my little talk about Viper. If you like a little different type of guitar, you might consider it. But keep in mind that it's going to have some neck dive, and the whole guitar is kind of offset to the side. It'll feel a little bit different than your regular guitar. But hey, it's a good rock metal machine if you need one. Always recommend ESP LTD guitars, especially one of the nice fretboards, ebony fretboards, and the good fretwork. Anyways, that's all for this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and take care. Salut!